And also, I'm a suicide attempt survivor, which means that the very things that when I was 22, the very same reasons, the same feelings, and the same emotions that I had at that time when I tried to take my own life, just because I survived does not mean that I still don't deal with those issues. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about myself. I want to, first of all, I want to share the strategies with you that I have found very successful for me over the years, and strategies that I know for sure that have worked for others. So a little about me. I grew up in a household of 5. And for the majority of my time growing up as a child, my mother suffered from chronic depression. So when I grew up, my mother, I didn't get to enjoy my mother, but like many other people did. My mom spent most of her time in bed in a dark room with a cover over her head. And I can remember being a child and longing to just see my mom and spend time with her, and cracking the door open. And there she was, it was pitch black. So that's what I remember. I also can remember my mom having to be admitted in the hospital for her depression. And at that time, we lived across the street from the hospital that she was admitted to. I can remember my father taking me to stand on the sidewalk in front of the hospital and my mother waving at me. I can even remember what my mom had on. She had on a white robe. And I remember her throwing me kisses and waving at me. Those are some of the most effective memories of my mom that really just affected me throughout my life. So that's what I have. And then as I grew up, I suffered from depression. I felt very insecure, very unloved, which led to me always living a life trying to live up to other one's expectations, because I wasn't quite sure who I was. I didn't have that person's lap who I sat on who told me how much they loved me. I didn't have the positive reinforcements. I had no one encouraging me and telling me what was best about me, what my wonderful qualities were. I never had that growing up. So I was very depressed. I was a very depressed child. And even though I didn't realize that's what it was, at that time, I just knew I felt icky. I just knew I felt bad. So I grew up with that. And then also, when I was 42, throughout my life, first, let me back up. I always felt that my depression was a little bit more than it should be, because I had a very hard time planning and mapping out my life. And I had a very hard time remaining grounded. Okay, so life happened along the way, and it really caused me to really, find a good psychiatrist and really find out, okay, let's talk. And it was at that time I had an amazing, amazing psychiatrist. And she asked me, she said, has anyone ever told you you had bipolar 2 disorder? And I'm like, what's that? And she said, when you have, there's normal bipolar and then there's bipolar 2 disorder, where you have more lows than highs. And she explained that to me. And I want to be honest with you, it was a game changer for me, because I was able to do my research and figure out what the symptoms were, what other people were doing to survive it. And it helped me learn a lot about me, and it filled so many pieces of the puzzle for my life. It really, really did. So I just want you to know that that's what I bring to the table today, is my lived experience. That is my expertise, my lived experience. So many of you may ask me, where did you get the term illuminated, Jeannine? What does an illuminated woman mean? Um, and not only that, I mean, I know we have men in the group. What illuminates a person? What makes you illuminate? What makes you shine? Well, some of the elements that I think that really describe that person that lives that illuminated life is that person is purpose driven. Okay, you use your power to always slay fear. You are a fear slayer. You practice good grounding skills. Those are those skills that you use to stay on track, to stay focused on your purpose. You execute healthy grounding skills. You find those things that work for you that are healthy, like self care, other elements that you use to really um, let go of those things that are holding you back. And then once you find those grounding skills, then you learn to maintain them. So that is what a person that is illuminated, that is a person that stays on track. Now, do we always remain illuminated, even when we're going through our tough times, even when we're having those hard days? Well, many of you, I'm quite sure, don't feel that you are illuminated, but you're always illuminated. You just have to work hard to find that shine, to keep on moving. So I want you to think about something. And there is a problem or an area that you need to fix, whether it's within yourself, or say, for instance, you have a broken faucet, or say, for instance, you're just having a situation that needs to be handled and you just don't know quite how to find a way out. You're stuck. Well, what is the first thing that you do? Think about this. You plan. You figure out, what am I going to do? What steps can I take to fix that broken faucet? Um, can I fix it myself? Do I have a friend that can fix it? Or am I going to call the plumber? When it comes to us, when we have those barriers in our life that make us feel like really stuck, and we can't mentally get past it, it has us feeling really down, lack of self-esteem. You come up with a plan. It says here, planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. So let that resonate with you a little bit. Planning is bringing the future into the present, meaning you have that goal and you're stuck, but you need to plan on how you're going to fix it now so you can live that future that you see. So you may say, well, Jeannine, okay, sounds really fancy and really great, but just how am I going to do that? Well, you're going to go into action. And one of the things that I love is that you're going to practice. To me, first, you have to practice that self-care. You have to get yourself mentally in that zone. So I thought about a couple of things that I find that help me, okay? Stop overcommitting yourself. Let me tell you, how many times do you say yes to 15 things when you know that you can really mentally or time-wise probably only do 5? Because you feel so committed to want to help everybody that you give of your overflow, and then you also give of your cup, and it doesn't leave you with a whole lot. So I'm going to say no to overcommitting yourself. Another thing I want to say is practice self-reflection. It is so important to do that. One of the things that I love to do is when I am in my mode of self-reflection, I love to journal. Okay. And I journal my emotions because I feel like my journal at times is my best friend, and I can write in my journal the things that I'm ashamed of, the things that I don't want anybody to know. And I can journal about my pain. I can journal about my past and what's causing the pain. So that is my way of doing my self-reflection, is journaling. And then I try to think about my future and the things that I want to do. And when you are developing a plan, a lot of people like vision boards. And a vision board is great. It's fantastic. But you know what I love? A vision journal. A vision journal where I can seriously sit down and map out my plan. And when in my vision journal, I can see the color. I can smell the aroma. I see myself there. And I see other people there with me. So what is my vision? And so one of the greatest examples that I have as of lately is when I got married and I moved into my husband's home, which is now our home. I had a vision, and it was so many things within that vision that I wanted to do. And so I literally grabbed the book and I took room by room and I mapped out my vision. I knew what colors I wanted my kitchen walls to be, what type of faucet I wanted, what counters I wanted in the dining room, what furniture I wanted. I went through each room and mapped it out. I even mapped out the backyard and the front yard. I did that. And another way is, have you ever heard of the term confidence stare? And I recently, in one of my books that I collaborated on, I called my chapter A Confidence Stare. And people were like, a confidence stare? What is a confidence stare? A confidence stare is when you can look at something in your mind and you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is where you're supposed to be in your life. You don't know how you're going to get where you have no clue. You just know that you're going to do it. And sometimes you don't have a plan, but through time you see what your course should be and you develop that plan. For me, when I was in banking, I knew that I shouldn't be sitting behind a desk staring at my computer every day. So my confidence scare is the same thing you can do, is I call it the mirror work, is getting that mirror and looking at yourself and literally talking to yourself. If you stand in front of a crowd, in front of a motivational speaker, you get motivated, right? Well, the best person that can motivate you is yourself. So I used to look at my computer every day, just like this, and I look at that computer and I would stare at my computer, and in that computer, to me, it represented every client I had, every file I had, and I would literally stare at my computer, and this is what I would say to it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I guarantee you that I will not be at this desk every day, and I'm going to live my dream as a vocalist, and I am going to travel and I am going to perform. Don't know how I'm going to do it, how I'm going to pay my bills, how I'm going to do it, but I just knew I'm going to do it. It's the same as looking in the mirror and telling yourself how amazing and how wonderful you are, and mapping out that plan and figuring out what you're going to do. So map out your plan. Know what you want to do. Okay, so once you do that, you have to practice your grounding skills. And what are your great grounding skills are going to be? Your grounding skills are going to be what you know works for you. One of the things that I love about the grounding skills is that in order for you to have those grounding skills, there's a couple of things that you have to get rid of. You have to first start using the tools that you know that you have. Use those tools that you know that you are good at. Change your mindset. Change your way of thinking. get a new replay in your mind. And one of the really great things that you can do is you can use a victory log. Okay, we've heard of the gratitude journal. A victory log is amazing. That is where you sit every day and you write down all your successes. You simply focus on the great things that you did that day. It could be as little as dusting off a counter. It could be as small as sweeping the floor, getting dressed, taking a shower, reading a page of a book that you've always wanted to read. Because when you're depressed or mentally just not healthy, those are things that are really hard. Those things are hard. Some days you don't even want to shower. Those successes, write down your wins for the day. Write down the big wins, that new job you may have gotten, that new car, that mile walk that you always wanted to do, that trail that you rode your bike on for like an hour, something that you just had been longing to do and you did it. If you take time to do that victory log and write down your successes every day of the week, you will focus more on the great things you did and not the things that you didn't do. You won't look at the negative. You will look at the positive. I guarantee it, you will. It's sure fit. So change your mindset. So because you have that power over your thoughts. And for some of us, I do strongly believe, and I use the word some, that you have that power over what you're thinking. And for some, it may be harder than others. But I have faith that you can do it. So that's what you want to do. You want to get those good, very good grounding skills. Another great grounding skill, meditation. Meditation, which is different than a confidence stare. Meditation is just sitting and just thinking and being mindful of where you are, living in the present, not worrying about the future or what's behind you. The future is not here yet, and what's behind you is gone. You have now. So meditate on now. Be in the present. That is always, always, always helpful to do. Another thing is to help us mentally, we want to be physically fit. We want to get up and exercise and go walking or doing those things. Yoga is very popular now. So, these are grounding skills that you can practice, and maybe you have your own grounding skills that you find are good for you. Whatever works for you, that is what you should do.
I mean, I know you were saying too when we were talking the other day about how once we're on a high, we tend to not maintain. So it's just so important to make this a part of your routine.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very important. So that's a good point that you brought that out, Jenny, because you know what? That is how you strengthen your healthy habits. You build those. Now that you've taken time to get those grounding skills, you're building those good habits. Now that you have those good habits, you want to maintain them, and you don't want to break and relearn your bad habits, because it's just like anything, and I'm guilty of it. When I'm feeling like, ooh, I can conquer the world, or this is really going good, I will stop doing that journaling. I'll skip it. I'll sleep a little bit longer, and I get up and I get to moving, because why should I do that? It worked. I'm cured. So I think. So you have to strengthen those habits by continuing to do what it is meant for you to do. Example, if you are diagnosed with high blood pressure, or you're diagnosed and you're a diabetic, and your diagnosis, you don't stop taking your medicine. Physically, you don't stop doing anything that the doctor recommends that you do. So mentally, you don't want to stop doing those things that are helping you. You want to continue to journal. Maybe, journaling is not just for the bad things. Journaling is for the good things. And then, you don't want to stop writing down your successes, because then if you're not keeping note of those things, it's easy to forget because you'll start back focusing on what didn't work today. Basically, it's okay not to be okay. You don't have to feel like you're Superman or Superwoman at all times, but you sure want to keep up the great things that you had been doing to keep yourself, your healthy habits strengthened. And so one of the things that I think is really important about strengthening your habits is learning to be confident. Confidence is huge. Confidence is huge in maintaining and strengthening your healthy habits. So it goes back to that victory journal that I said. Look at what you have achieved. Look at your successes and look what you've achieved. Think about what you're good at and forget about what you're bad at, but look at what you're good at. And then the things that you think you're bad at, you will soon realize that you're good at that too. So do that too. Don't allow other people to define your worth. You are you, they are who they are. Everyone is different. We all have our special qualities. Don't compare yourself to other people, and don't look at someone else that may be doing a little bit better than you and use that to define who you are. And how do you become confident, like right now, like right today? I'm going to tell you, it is important that you watch who is in your mix, who's in your tribe, who are your friends. You want to pick people that are going to uplift you. You don't want to pick people who don't appreciate your qualities, that don't appreciate who you are and your strengths, that can't give you accolades when you are doing amazing things and doing those things that you've always wanted to do. So watch who is in your tribe, your mix. And another thing is you want to really think about what's important to you and do it. All these things are a great way for you to build your confidence and to just be yourself and who you want to be. Let's talk about purpose. Knowing your purpose gives you the drive to keep going. Believe in your heart that you're meant to live. Oh my, everybody's blocking my words. What does it say, Jenny? You read it for me, Jenny. I'm sorry.
I'm like, where is my mute button in all of this?
Oh, I should really learn how to move the people around. Believe in your heart that you're meant to live a life full of passion, purpose, magic, and miracles. Roy T. Bennett. Okay, so think about that. Just believe in your heart. Just know that you're meant to live a life full of passion, purpose, magic, and miracles. And you know that one thing that you're supposed to be doing. A lot of people say, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't have one. Many people will say, Jeannine, you automatically know what you have. You can sing. You're good at talking in front of people. I don't have that. Everyone has a purpose. You were born with a purpose. And usually your purpose is that one great thing that you love to do. Maybe you love to bake. Maybe you make the best chocolate cake in the world or the best peach cobbler. Maybe you are very good at putting clothes together. You're a designer and don't even realize it. Maybe you're just good at giving hugs and loving people and telling people how great you are. You're a motivator and you don't even realize it. When you are purpose-driven, it gives you more of a base and a foundation to be mentally healthy, because when you are feeling not so okay, it's a goal. It's something that you have in your life that you're going to say, I have to get back to that. It's going to give you drive. So we all have a purpose. I challenge you, if you don't feel you have a purpose, I challenge you to take time to discover who you truly are. Many people don't know who they truly are. Who you truly are is within your purpose. I'm telling you. Another thing that you will do in purpose, it will be easy for you to slay that fear that you have. That one thing that you're afraid to do, you will do it. And you won't have that fear that you normally have. They say that fear, you can't have courage without fear. So you want to have that. And when you're purpose driven, you're always at your best. So I just want you to remember that. Okay. So let's talk about courage. So this is a quote that I came up with because one day I thought about to myself, Jeannine, what is courage? Because I have found myself learning to have lots of courage. So courage is having your eyes closed, opening a door to the unknown, and then walking through it. Courage is not having any skeletons in your closet and taking them all out, dusting them off, and putting a bow tie on them, a really cute dress and a hat, and sharing it with the world. So let me tell you a little story about me. It was probably 2 years ago when I did my first collaborative book, and they said, write a story that encourages someone and something that means a lot to you. And so I thought, and then what I decided to do is I decided to have courage enough to talk about things that I would never talk about, things that I'm ashamed of, something that I would never admit to anyone. And for me, it was my suicide attempt, which is something I want you to know that reliving that whole experience was very painful for me and very hard for me. And it opened up a can of worms, and it took me on a whirlwind of emotion that I never imagined that I would go through. But I literally, when I wrote that story, I went back and I had a friend of mine who went through the experience with me, and we sat down and we talked about it. And I was able to literally take myself back to that room and hear everything that was going on. And just, it was almost like someone picked me up and put me in that situation again. And so I found myself there. And I want you to know, sharing the story about my suicide attempt and then going on a talk show that is heard all around the world and sharing my suicide attempt, sharing my diagnosis, and sharing my journey with being on medication was the most humiliating feeling in the world. But I knew that it was something that I had to do and that had to be done, because I needed to empty myself out of that pain, because it was surfaced. I had I had taken it and buried it. I didn't deal with it because when it happened, my parents, I was told that I wasn't supposed to talk about it and that I shouldn't tell the family about it. And that's not something that I would ever want to share with anybody, because people, when they find out your bad things, when they find out and you share it, they treat you differently because of that stigma that is out there in mental illness. And you do have some people, unfortunately, that look at you different. They react to you differently. They relate to you differently, and they don't hold you in a high regard that they normally would have once they find out about your issues. So what I want all of you do today is I want you to have courage. I want you to have courage to live your life unashamed. I want you to have the courage to tell people about the things that you would never talk about. Because you know what? Since I did that, I have helped so many people. And when you have a lived experience at something, people value that. And having courage could lead you to a path to your purpose that you never could imagine. Today, I had, when I say today, I mean today as in my life now today, I've had many amazing experiences. I had a doctor call me from the Milwaukee Medical College, and he was a psychiatrist. And he called me out of the blue one day and he said, Jeannine, I heard that you are a suicide attempt survivor. And here at the Milwaukee Medical College, we are trying to come up with a cohort or a group that can help our employees, because we've had 2 people try to take their own life. And he said, could you help us? I was flabbergasted. Here is a psychiatrist that has his doctorate in psychiatry, and he wanted me to teach them how to understand suicidal ideation, and to understand what's going through one's mind, and possibly what is a person feeling. I was honored. So when I did that, I was on a group Zoom just like this one with over 100 medical professionals from all over the world. They were pharmacists, they were psychiatrists, they were head of hospitals, and they came to me, and asked me to help them. It was the most rewarding experience that I've had to date. And I was able to share. I dug deep and I shared everything with them. I told them they were allowed to ask me anything that they wanted. They should not be ashamed. Just ask me. The next day, I received an email. And in the email, the doctor told me, the psychiatrist, he told me, Jeannine, you don't know how much you helped us. You have given us a plan and an outline for our group. You have taught us what we need to do to help our employees, because we don't want to lose anyone else to suicide. So having courage can lead you to your purpose and lead you to that vision, a vision that is there that you never even imagined. So I want you to think about that. So in closing, this is what I want to say to you. 2 things I want to leave with you. Everyone on this call, on this Zoom call, no matter what color you are, no matter what gender you are, no matter what background you're from, we all have something in common that's so amazing. And this is it. We were all once these beautiful little babies that were born into this world. And we were so innocent, and we still are in a lot of ways, but we were these tiny, cute little babies that people just loved and adored. We all have that experience. And we also have the same experience that life happened along the way. And we wound up in places that we didn't deserve to be. We wound up in places that our parents never imagined that we would be. And when we were born, those beautiful, innocent babies, we were born with power. We were born with so much power to conquer the world. And life took that, has tried to drown that power out in our souls by making us feel that we're not enough. Okay? So I want you to remember that. And then I don't want you all to ever forget this story. There's this girl that we all know. We all know her. And I can't imagine that we all don't all know her. And she was around 12 years old. I'm going to say her a little older. And she woke up one day and she was just in this totally different world. And she traveled. And through her travel, she had this vision of this person that could help her get out of this world that she was in. And through the course of the time of her going to see that light that everyone told her would help her, she ran into a wicked witch. She ran into some monkeys, and they were all trying to harm her. She met her tribe. She met a wonderful lion, a tin man, and a scarecrow that loved her and adored her. And they all were seeking something. So they all traveled to this land together and went through it all together, all the down and all the highs. And so they were going, and they finally arrived where they were supposed to go. And I'm going to change the ending a little. And when they went to see the Wiz, because they thought Dorothy just knew that the Wiz was going to get her back home to her Auntie M and her uncle. And I want you to remember the words that he said. He told I believe he told the scarecrow, and he told the lion. The lion wanted courage, and he told the scarecrow, he told them he really couldn't help them, if I remember correctly. But Dorothy, he told Dorothy, you had it all the time. You went through the valley just thinking that you didn't have it. And sweetheart, you had it all the time. I just want you to click your heels 3 times. And she walked around with the power of those red shoes. You have the power in your heart and soul. And you're already there. You cannot see that light, and you may not be able to see that vision. But Dorothy, the Tin Man, and the Scarecrow all found that even when they were told they didn't have it, they had it. And if you remember the end of the story, they all got there. And you can get there too. Don't forget, click your heels 3 times and just open your eyes and find that you are there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jeannine. We are going to move into Q&A, but I'm also going to put Jeannine's information up in case anyone wants to connect with her outside of this as well. Yes, I'll give claps from Jackie.
Thank you.
Anybody have questions, thoughts, comments they want to share? Feel free to either pop that into our chat or unmute yourself, and we can have a conversation.
And I want to add, feel free to ask me anything. I'm an open book.
Linda, do you have a question? I saw you were off mute.
Oh, no, I was.
All right. No worries.
No, I just want to although I do want to tell Jeannine that I really enjoyed that and appreciate your help too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jeannine, so I'll hop in. Something you mentioned earlier that Jackie and I were on a different call yesterday about resilience. And many of us talk a lot about, like, for example, I'm very solution driven. I'm very like, do, like, have to constantly be solving a problem. And yesterday it was really helpful to hear, I knew this, but like hearing it from somebody else is always helpful, that self-reflection is doing something. That,
yes.
that working on mindset and meditating is doing something. Just because there's no end product or whatever the case might be, that doesn't make it any less valuable. So I love that you touched on that today, this evening. I got a question also from Family Connection. Can you tell us more about your journey to finding a therapist that worked for you? How long to find a good fit? It can be an expensive search.
Wow. Okay, so first I want to say when I was in my 20s, I went to a therapist on and off. And I'm going to tell you, I didn't see the value of me going to one then. And it was easier back in the 80s, I believe so, to find a therapist. I do believe that um, the reason why it was easier because people were not so keen on going to a psychiatrist, or they weren't admitting that they had issues. Now it's harder to get in to see a psychiatrist. So for me, yes, you're right, it could be expensive. For me, I started with my doctor, my primary doctor. Um, I just started telling her that, and this was recent. I started telling her that, I, I needed something extra because first I forgot to mention to you, I was on medication in my early 20s, and then I went years without it because I had my own coping mechanisms then. The journaling, the self-reflection, all the things that I mentioned to you helped me stay pretty much on track. And I have to admit, it's something that I didn't really think about, and that my doctor told me. And she says, well, Jeannine, you're older now. And some of the things that you were doing before are not working now because, may I share with you, everyone here, I'm in my 50s. And so I'm menopausal. And when you have those extra elements on top of an already a little brokenness, and you have that, I was like, something's not right. And so she talked me into going back on medicine. So I started with my doctor. And so, I digress. I'm sorry. So to answer your question, going about finding a good therapist, my doctor recommended one. She recommended 4 or 5 of them. And what I did is I went online, I read their bios, and I thought I found someone that I felt would be a good fit for me just from going out there, reading their bio, and there's a website you can go to and find. They do like they recommend, or they tell you their experience with the doctor, and so that's how I chose mine, and that's what I did. I hope that helped.
I got a thanks exclamation mark. So I think so. Any other questions, thoughts? If not, we can hang out for a few minutes just in case. But otherwise, I want to thank everyone so much for attending. And thank you again, Jeannine, so much for being so courageous and telling your story. And I think we're all a little better, if not a lot better, for it. So I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. And feel free to stay on if you have other questions for Jeannine. Otherwise, we'll hopefully see you at an event soon.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeannine.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeannine.
Thank you. And you're welcome.
Jeannine, that was awesome. Thank you so much. I know we talked about your slides and we walked through it, but hearing your story is just really powerful.
Thank you.
To have you be so open about it is, like Jackie was saying, so refreshing. So,
well,
especially when we're like all stuck at home and kind of like feeling really, I don't know, boxed in a little bit.
Right.
So yeah.
I'm hanging out in case I see 12 people are hanging out with us, in case they want to ask me anything. Oh no, there's 5 people. I'm sorry. I thought that
Oh,
was 12
good.
in the chat.
I'm hearing,
Jenny,
I'm seeing a lot of praise.
Jenny, I'm hoping that you will give me feedback and critique. Don't be afraid to email me.
At this point, I'm riding a high. I thought that was just really awesome.
Thank you.
I'm recording this. Obviously, I can have our designer cut it just so it's a little bit more usable for you, so that we're cutting this chatting at the end.
Okay.
And we can start right away. But yeah, it was great. I have nothing comes to mind. I just thought it was really great and very actionable.
I tried to keep the flow going. It's like and then I was wondering, do I have these slides in the right order? Should I swap? And I'm like, just leave it the way it is, Jeannine. All right, everybody, I'm gonna go. I love you all. Bye, Rebecca.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye bye. Now I gotta find the link.